Hey Chopper, this viewer's not subscribed.
Car D Kaizoku.
This video is sponsored by Nen Garden. Their latest spring collection just dropped, featuring 3 new designs. My favorite one being the whole cake design. Look at all the details. To celebrate, they're running a spring sale. Buy one and get any classic mat 40% off with code SPRINGSALE. Plus, Nen10 automatically saves you 10% at checkout. And you can stack this with my code Kaizoku for an additional 5% off on top of that. This video is sponsored by gumgum.gg. Discover Western OP10 lists and Eastern OP11 lists on gumgum.gg. Updated daily. Be the first to see decks for new leaders as they emerge. With over 1000 deck lists per set, gumgum.gg has all the top strategies as soon as they drop. This video is sponsored by Card Market, Europe's largest online marketplace for trading card games. Alright, so it's officially the first day that the ban list has gone into effect, which means it's April 1st, but this is not an April Fool's video, so don't worry, I'm not messing around even though you would expect that from me. I guess that's the April Fool's joke that this is a serious video when you're expecting me to not make a serious video, but yeah. 2 weeks have passed since the sim was updated to use the ban list, so we have 2 weeks worth of ranked sim data with this new ban list in effect. So we're going to be placing leaders on this tier list just based purely off of the ranked sim data for a 1 billion bounty plus rated matches, so this would be considered high ranking matches. Now of course, this is just ranked sim data. Actual tournament performance may be different. The play rate of some of these decks at tournaments might be different as well. Right, some decks are just easier to play on paper than they are online or vice versa. So do take it with a grain of salt, but I think it'll help you see the trends of what you might see in an actual tournament. And then yeah, once we get like actual paper tournaments, we'll look at the tier list again, revisit it and make some changes. Because also like real life performance also affects what people play on the sim as well. So it's kind of like a give and take situation there. But yeah, with what we got on this very first day of the ban list, let's just go through the tier list here. So up first in the S tier is actually Doflamingo, right? He has a 55% unweighted win rate at the moment. That's his natural win rate. A moderately low play rate of 3.21%, so not the most played deck anymore, but still, the people who are playing it are putting in really great results. Because of this, we weight his win rate to about 53.5%, right? He has a really high natural win rate, but he's just punished by his low play rate. But this still makes him the highest amongst all the leaders, so yeah. Doflamingo, despite losing Jinbei, is still a top tier deck. Now, some people thought he might be like an A tier deck, but the data seems to show really early on, at least 2 weeks in, he's still an S tier deck, right? He's, from my data, the top winningest leader at the moment. Up next is Shanks. So yeah, nobody's surprised by this. This is the most played leader on the sim at the moment, on the rank sim. He holds a commanding 17.33% play rate of all the 1 billion bounty plus ranked matches, with a natural win rate of 53.54% and a weighted win rate of 53.32. So yeah, because he's the most played deck, my calculations are very confident that this is his actual win rate. And yeah, Shanks losing a lot of his bad matchups just makes him an amazing pick to play in this current meta. He's really consistent too, whether you're going first or second. He plays pretty similarly to every leader, to even the mirror too. Up next in third, we have Zoro. So Zoro is a surprise pick, but actually not too surprising. I had a feeling he was going to be really popular. I just personally didn't want to overstep my boundaries and like make a really wild meta call and put him in S tier. So I think I put him in A tier in my list just to, as a security in case it was wrong in the end. I could say like I only put up an A, I didn't put him in S. But yeah, definitely an S tier deck. I had a feeling he was going to be. Does still lose to Blue Doflamingo, but a lot of his bad matchups got a nerf, right? Lucci got a nerf, Enel got a nerf. So those are decks that were good into Zoro. Doflamingo also was pretty oppressive into Zoro. It still is, but without Jinbei, it's a little bit more manageable. But yeah, Zoro is up here for sure. Yeah, Zoro currently sitting at a 53.36% win rate with a 6.97% play rate and then a weighted win rate of 52.89. So yeah, pretty good numbers here, right? It's above 50 by quite a bit, 53. Up next in fourth place, we have Purple Luffy. So Purple Luffy was another leader that a lot of people were speculating to be one of the biggest benefiters from the ban list. So he lost his bad matchup in Lucci. Right, Lucci lost access to Ice Age, which made it really easy for him to like pop Purple Luffy's like swarming kind of board. Doflamingo's a little bit easier to manage now without Jinbei, since Purple Luffy's essentially like a 3-life leader. There's like a big relief in pressure. Like your Gungam Giants are going to put in a lot more work to keep you alive against Doflamingo now. So because of that, Purple Luffy just solidifies his standing as an S tier deck here. And yeah, he's currently sitting at 51.91% natural win rate, play rate of 5.7%, and a weighted win rate of 51.59. And I think I'm going to cap off the S tier here. So let's move on to A tier. So first up in the A tier is Bonnie. Bonnie is another leader that people were speculating at being like one of the top winners from the ban list. In the end, it looks like Bonnie, her win rate did go up, but not to the degree that you would see her into S, I think. Because at the moment, she's at a 50.61% natural win rate. Play rate of 5.73%, really similar to the Purple Luffy. So we weighted to 50.50%. Right, definitely a whole tier under Luffy. It's nearly 1%, over 1%. And yeah, it's just any deck that was kind of weak to Lucci before has a little bit of an easier time in the meta. It's not so insta-lose anymore. Right, Lucci's can still make the cost reduction to KO yourself, but it's not like a one-card solution anymore. They have to like combo stuff and prep things ahead of time. So while not winning as big as you would expect, Bonnie was still a pretty sizable winner from the ban list here. Up next is Yellow Kid, Piss Kid, sitting at a 50.93% natural win rate, a play rate of 2.99%, and a weighted win rate of 50.38. So yeah, actually has a higher win rate than Bonnie by 0.3%, but due to his play rate being like half of what Bonnie is, that kind of pushes him down. Right, the scoring metric is a little bit tiny bit less confident in his numbers compared to Bonnie, but for all intents and purposes, they're pretty much equal in this case. And yeah, Kid has a easy time into Doflamingo now that he can't swarm, and then Kids also naturally get into Zoro, who is kind of risen up into the meta. So this is more of like a meta response, right? Kid is just good into the decks that kind of filled the void after Lucci was hit. Then up next is actually Lim. So Lim got a pretty big buff in OP10, right? It felt like she got the other half of the package for her deck to make a full deck. And yeah, with those new tools and then a kind of less threatening Lucci meta and then BY Luffy meta too, Lim has an easier time as like a swarm deck. Because her advantage is just developing a bunch of 6k bodies against like BY Luffy, who's an elevated 9k every turn. It's really hard to use your characters to attack to get any advantage, but yeah, with that deck completely dead and out of the meta, Lim can actually interact with every other deck, especially without Lucci around as much too, because Lucci just pops every character that Lim plays. I think at the moment Lucci still does that, but just due to the fact that he's less prevalent, you don't face that matchup as often as you used to. But yeah, Lim is sitting at a 51.09% natural win rate, play rate of 2.69, and a weighted win rate of 50.27, so actually higher than Bonnie and Kid before her, but due to the low play rate being pretty similar to Kid's but even less, we weight her down to 50.27. And then up next, of course, is Lucci. I told you guys he's an A tier deck. In my original tier list, the order in the tiers didn't matter, so I don't know. A lot of people were like, why'd you put Lucci at the top of 8? There's no top of 8, but this time there is a top of 8, it's Bonnie. So Lucci is sitting at a natural 50.44% win rate. I think it's gone down. The last time I checked, it was higher than this. But yeah, play rate of 3.1 and a weighted win rate of 50.08. So yeah, Lucci play rate has gone up significantly since the beginning of the ban list meta. I think at the very beginning, everyone was just doom posting him and not playing him. And then like I made a video on him. And then at the moment, a lot of pros are starting to make videos on him too. So Lucci's Steam is picking back up. People are realizing that the deck is not dead. It's still a meta viable deck. It's not like an S tier, like answer everything with one card kind of deck anymore, right? It's kind of like a set up and kill kind of deck now, because there's never a universe where a deck where you can like develop bodies and kill your opponent's bodies while doing so will ever be bad, right? So to think that Lucci was a dead deck just because they lost Ice Age and Gecko Moria, it's just like asinine to kind of assume so, right? The decks that would die with Gecko Moria gone are decks that don't depend on KO, like BY Luffy, right? He depends on that for like the defense and then the recursion. That's something you can't replace without Gecko Moria. Lucci can still KO and cost reduce without. So yeah, I personally think Lucci's play rate and win rate will only increase. I don't think he's going to be like represented at like the top 4 tables as much anymore, right? I think he fizzles out in the top 8s from now, just due to like his matchups and then what he wants to tech against. Because yeah, you kind of have to pick, you want to tech against wide decks or tall decks. And then if you happen to tech against wide decks and then the top 4 is all tall decks, you just kind of are stuck without a paddle, you know? Because before ACOS Gecko Moria would give you the answer for either scenario. Now you just kind of have to tech your deck against what you think is going to be in the meta. But yeah, I'm just happy that all the Lucci naysayers were proven wrong. We'll have to see actual tournament results too. I'm pretty sure tournament results are going to be close to what we see on the ranked sim, so we're going to see Lucci top some tournaments too. And then I'll get the last laugh because you're all so stupid. Well, some of you at least. Most of you are pretty smart. And then up next is Blackbeard. Actually, Blackbeard, people were expecting Blackbeard to be S tier, oppressive in the meta, pre-ban list, just basing it off of what we saw in Japan for OP10. But yeah, due to the ban list, and I think just the West doesn't like Blackbeard in general, he is not in the gutter, but like definitely not an S tier deck at the moment. So he's sitting at a 50.07% win rate, 13.65% play rate, really high, second to Shanks. 50.07 weighted win rate. So yeah, that puts him in 9th place here. So a little unfortunate in that with Lucci and BY Luffy being hit, those are two decks that Blackbeard countered. So he lost some of his good matchups, and then the decks that kind of could show up in the meta due to those decks being gone are like Zoro, and then Purple Luffy's up in S tier now, solidified, and then Doflamingo is still as strong as he ever was. Because of that, Teach just has a hard time dealing with that. He's naturally weak into those decks. So yeah, while I don't think Blackbeard's a bad deck at all, it's a really strong deck. It's just unfortunate how the meta has kind of shifted to him not being the answer to the meta anymore. And then we'll cap off the A tier there. In Borderline, Usopp is our first pick there, the 10th most, the number 10 ranked deck. So he's sitting at a 48.52 natural win rate that is under 50, the first leader to be under 50 in this list. That's why I kind of want to separate him to another tier. Play rate of 4.53, and then a weighted win rate of 48.81%. So yeah, I thought Usopp was going to be in the gutter just because he lost a lot of his good matchups. He was good into Lucci, he was good into Enel. Those decks aren't played as much, so I thought because of that he won't have as nice a time. But fortunately for us, he's also great into Doflamingo and great into Zoro, which are the S tier meta decks right now, so he still got that going for him. But yeah, just overall not performing as good as people would want him to, right? He's a sub 50% win rate deck at the moment on the rank sim. It could just be that the package that he had before doesn't really deal with the meta as we see it now, right? People might just have to adjust. Maybe less Kairos and more of the 7 cost Luffy might be in order. But yeah, I do think Usopp is a really strong deck. He just needs a package that techs into the current meta instead of the past meta that people are still playing. And up next is Red Purple Luffy in B tier. So Red Purple Luffy is sitting at a 47.9% win rate. That's even lower than Usopp's 3% play rate and 48.23% weighted win rate. So yeah, just not finding too much success in this meta, but due to him being a popular enough deck, right, 3% play rate, he's still showing up in the top 20 here. People have moved on to more of an event ramp focused list where there's no characters to KO, right? He just ramps via It's to Die For and then lead performers, disasters, all-stars, one of those cards. But yeah, he's the deck that gets to his late game the quickest and has access to the best late game, right? All the red and purple late game cards are pretty potent, and he has access to Gum Gum Giant too on top of that. But with the meta filled with Doflamingos and Purple Luffys and Red Zoros, and even Lim has a pretty good shot at killing Red Purple Luffy, it's just not safe for a 3-life leader at the moment in this kind of hostile meta. Up next is Red Green Smoker. So this one surprised me. I thought Red Green Smoker would, due to the vacuum left in the meta, have like a really good time, right? Being like the premier Fortress 8-cost kid deck, having access to red events and green events, and then essentially like 2 to 3 extra Dawn a turn, thanks to Smoker's leader ability and the 5-cost Smoker. I thought it would make like complete sense that Smoker in a meta filled with aggro decks like Doflamingo, Purple Luffy, and Zoro would just like shut them down, right? But unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be the case, and I do think that is mostly due to Starter Deck 21. So Gum Gum Mulgun, I can actually even show you guys. This event card here is like the 4-cost answer to 8-cost kid, right? It gives minus 5k to something, and then if you have a character with 6,000 power or more, you can pop a 2k on board. So this kills the Rosinante that is protecting the 8-cost kid, and then makes the 8-cost kid into a 3k power character that you can just swing into, right? Whether you're Shanks or Zoro, or even like the Mirror runs it too. It's not as hard to get rid of an 8-cost kid anymore as it used to be. And then Purple is starting to tech cards like Gamma Knife to do that too. Right, Gamma Knife gives minus 5,000 power, and then Blue, Doflamingo. I've seen this run 4 copies of Red Rock just to get around 8-cost kid, and Shanks decks too. So yeah, it's that combination of things of everyone running tech against Red Green Smoker now that people thought Red Green Smoker is going to dominate, that Red Green Smoker is not dominating at all. Sitting at a 47.17% natural win rate, play rate of 6.86%, but a weighted win rate of 47.58. Right, so the weighting actually brought their ranking up just because so many people are playing it, but they're definitely underperforming. 47% win rate on this deck is pretty sad. Up next is Blue Purple Reiju. So Reiju is sitting at a 51.19% win rate, actually above 50, but a really low play rate of 1.55% and a weighted win rate of 47.19%. So yeah, the low play rate is affecting Reiju's weighted score, but she does have an above 50 win rate, right? That's better than the literally every other deck in her tier. So I do think that once people play more Reiju would just go up in tier to A potentially. But yeah, I think this one is just due to the calculation being less confident about her 51% win rate. Up next we have Katakuri. So Katakuri is sitting at a 48.97% win rate, also sub 50, 1.79% play rate, and a weighted win rate of 47.15%. So yeah, kind of similar stats to what we saw with the Usopp, Red Purple Luffy, and Smoker, so Katakuri would have to belong in the same tier. It's just in the meta without Lucci and Teach being there to counter Lucci in the S tier. Katakuri can actually play his deck because yeah, Blackbeard just cancelled out all of his late game. And I think Katakuris nowadays run more of like a burn style kind of deck with the 8 cost kids, the 6 cost Robins, and then yeah, of course, Big Mom, 10 cost Big Mom is actually a burn card. You just outright trash a life. So having a little bit of a nicer time in this meta than people expected. And then let's close off the B tier with Bello Betty. So Bello Betty was another contender to potentially be like an S tier deck after the ban list, due to the fact that yeah, she auto dies to Lucci and has a really good matchup into Blackbeard, but Blackbeard is not S tier at the moment. Bello Betty still struggles into Doflamingo, but does amazingly well into Shanks and decks like Purple Luffy. I think the reason she's in B tier with and that seems to track, right? She has a 50.11% win rate, natural win rate. The only reason she's in B tier is just due to her play rate, it seems like, right? Being a 1.54% play rate, that's really low. So it's not as confident in that 50.11% win rate that she seems to have. So as we see more Bello Betty's play, it could go up, or it could just be that Bello Betty's inconsistent, right? And then I'm going to change C tier to Rogue actually, and then I'll change D tier to Sleeper, just to make things a little different here. So yeah, I'm just going to place the other leaders here without going too in-depth into them. So Bo is up next in Rogue, lost Jinbei but not completely out of it, still does decently into some of these decks up here, right? Especially since she doesn't have to compete with Doflamingo, because Doflamingo usually could just outflood Boa. Can actually control a Doflamingo board to some degree now. Currently sitting at a 46.7% natural win rate, 1.79% play rate, and a 45% weighted win rate. Up next is actually Black Smoker at 48% natural win rate, 1.12% play rate, and then 42% weighted win rate. The lowest play rate of all the decks so far on screen here. I think that's the biggest thing affecting his score. But yeah, he loses Ice Age and Gekko Moria too, but still seems to do fine. I think he's less good than Lucci. Lucci being able to mill his own deck, which gives him access to a lot of like graveyard recursion that Smoker doesn't have access to at the moment. Right, you have to find like your Sengokus or your brand news, so, and that's not even guaranteed. But I think EB02 with Sengoku, the blocker one, that might help Smoker a bit, maybe put him into A tier. You also actually see Sanji up here too at 18th. So Sanji just makes every card in your deck a rush card that deals with some leaders. I guess they can't really deal with that much pressure, especially decks like Red Purple Luffy and Purple Luffy who have low life totals to begin with. And yeah, just the fact that Lucci can't pop his 6 cost vanilla with an Ice Age and a Brook anymore, maybe that might be a reason Sanji is doing so well, because he's sitting at a natural win rate of 52.25% actually. That's actually incredibly high, but a 0.71% play rate, that's under 1% played, with a weighted win rate of 35.99%. So it drops from 52 to 35 just because no one's playing the deck, so it's not confident at all at that 52% win rate. So as more people play it and the play rate goes up, it'll be more confident in that. Hopefully it'll stay that high, but it seems like people aren't too excited to play Red Sanji at the moment. Also in Rogue tier is Starter Deck 21 Luffy, sitting at a really low 44.21% win rate, 0.81% play rate, higher than the Sanji, but a weighted win rate of 35.8. So yeah, this deck is just worse Zoro, I feel like. I didn't think it was that much more worse, but it does seem to be pretty bad, right? Zoro is an S tier deck. This Red Luffy is sitting pretty low here at a 44.2% natural win rate. That's even lower than Bello Betty too. So just unfortunate for him. It's supposed to be like a better version of the Starter Deck 1 Luffy, but didn't really pan out for him. I think every other red deck in this list above him utilizes his own cards better than he does. And then we'll just round off the C tier with the 20th ranked deck, which is Buggy. So Buggy is sitting at 44.21% natural win rate, exactly the same as the Luffy we saw prior to it. Actually same play rate too, so that gives him the same weighted win rate. That is kind of interesting. These two decks have the exact same play rate and win rate for the past week. But yeah, the thing with Buggy is that he's really like polarizing, because he has an auto win matchup into Doflamingo and Zoro that we see up there, and to a degree Purple Luffy too, but like an auto lose matchup into everything else that isn't like a swarm deck. Right, even Lim develops a bunch of 5 costs that get around the Buggy, the shoe Buggy that stops their entire deck. So you're more of like a meta counter pick, right? You'll completely destroy some decks, but you'll completely lose to some decks, so that's why he's kind of low. And then in the sleeper tier, I want to do something new with that. So this is any deck that I see that has a 50 plus win rate, but a low play rate, which is why their like weighted win rate is down, but could have some potential at being like a really strong deck that people just haven't caught on to yet. Sanji definitely would have been in this tier, but I think since he's still in the top 20, I have to put him in C at least. So going down this list, so actually, Enel does have a 50.49% win rate, actually, but such an abysmally low play rate at 0.56% that like it brings his weighted win rate down to 31%. but can't deny that he's currently at a 50.49% win rate. Just he loses Kingdom Come, so it's like an auto lose into Blackbeard. So because of that, if you face into a Blackbeard who's the second most played deck, you're not gonna have a good time. But does decently well into like everything else, it looks like. Uta is also a leader with a 51.85% natural win rate at the moment, but a 0.38% play rate that's even lower, so 24% weighted win rate. Could potentially see Uta climb more as people play the deck more, because she seems to be doing well in the trenches here. Surprisingly enough, this one really took me by surprise, but Whitebeard is down here too. He's currently at a 51.50% natural win rate, 0.3% play rate, and 20.43% weighted win rate. Who's cooking with Blackbeard that he has a 51% win rate? But yeah, only 400 total games logged for this guy in the past week. But that's not insignificant. It's not zero, or it's not even like in the tens or anything like that. Actually quite a big sample size compared to how popular the leader has been recently, right? No one's looking at this leader anymore, but still somebody is dominating with it on ranked. And then the last one I see here is Vegapunk with a 52.16% win rate, 0.18% play rate, and a weighted win rate of 13.29%. So actually the highest of the sleeper tier in terms of raw win rate. But yeah, just no one's playing the deck though. He does counter a lot of the decks that we see above him, right? He's good into Doflamingo. I think he's good into Zoro too, if I remember correctly. But yeah, it's just that no one's playing the deck. Maybe you can be the one that pioneers Vegapunk into meta relevancy. And yeah, the decks that we expected to die from the ban list died from the ban list, right? Black Yellow Luffy is completely gone, and then every other rogue Gecko Moria deck is gone too, right? The OP10 Gecko Moria, Perona is gone, the starter deck 14 Luffy, what number is he? 14. Yeah, he's gone too. So we'll just put those back on board on screen. Yeah, just unfortunate casualties here. These guys lost the most from the ban list. So yeah, this is the week 2 post ban list tier list. That's what it's looking like based on purely empirical data that I scraped from the rank sim, right? This is not my opinion at all. This is just data. So I don't know, if you want to get mad at me for this and somehow mentally gymnastics your way into blaming this on me, go right ahead, but I'm just reporting it as it is. And just for fun, let's compare how close we got with our like day 0 post ban tier list predictions. So I have it up on screen here, and to be honest, it's not too far off, right? Especially near the top. Well, kind of only near the top. So we got Doflamingo right, we got Shanks right, we got Purple Luffy right, we underrated Zoro. I didn't want to be too confident with Zoro just because I felt like I'm the Zoro shill, I'm the Zoro Coper, so if I put him in S, people are gonna be like, yeah, of course we put him in S. But in the end he was S, so I should have stuck with my gut and been proud of my boy here. I overrated Bonnie, but it's close enough, right? She's at the top of A. I put her in S, so it could tip the scale at any point, I think. Up next is, well, I made my A tier a lot bigger than what it actually should be. But some of the A tier picks are similar here, right? We see the kid here in A. We see Lucci and Teach here in A. So of course I called it. Lucci is definitely solidified A tier at the moment. I think he only goes up from here if like pros figure out a list in like tournament level events where he does really well. I think Lucci would just go even higher back into S tier maybe. I think that's really doubtful. I think he's kind of relegated to A tier, but who knows, right? People might figure out some special sauce with them. And yeah, Blackbeard definitely not S tier like everyone thought he was going to be. Even post-ban, people were thinking he's going to be S tier. Definitely an A tier deck, and it makes sense because you're also speculating what would fill the meta, right? So moving on to B tier. So this is where like half of my A tier ended up also, right? Bello Betty's here, Smoker's here, Red Purple Luffy's here. But yeah, I called Reiju correctly in B. I put Vegapunk in B too, but I mean, he's a sleeper pick. He's a 52% win rate. So he's got something, right? There's something to the deck that people just haven't caught on to yet. So it could be like a secret B tier deck actually. Not actually like a low tier deck. Just punished by his play rate, essentially. And then I put Usopp in meta counter, but yeah, I don't like the concept of meta counter as a tier. Right? It should be something separate. Because meta counter as a C tier would imply that it's worse than B tier, right? But I didn't mean it that way. But yeah, Usopp at the top of B was surprising for me. I don't think I would have put him that high. And then Katakuri too. Didn't expect him to come back in any capacity, so surprised to see him here. And I also thought Bo would be better too, but she could rise up to B just due to having a low play rate, I guess. And then for the rogue tier deck, Smoker, I got right. Sanji, Luffy, and Buggy, I didn't even consider these guys. I put Buggy in meta counter, which isn't really a tier, so I guess I get half credit for that. But yeah, I didn't really look at starter deck 21 Luffy or Sanji at all, as the other red decks that can run Gun Gun Mulgun. And I put a bunch of other random leaders like the Laws in there that aren't doing too hot. Oh yeah, Purple Black Luffy's in the gutter too. Right, he died from the ban list here, so we'll put him in Doodoo. And yeah, this new sleeper tier here, it will be interesting to see how these leaders perform as the meta goes. Right, they're at above 50% win rate, but just have a really low play rate affecting their ranking. So I might want to try to look into these myself and see why they're doing so well. So yeah, all in all, at least the S and A tier, I think we're pretty close, pretty confident. So a little proud of myself for that, right? It seems like when it comes to meta viability, I have a pretty good sense. When it comes to like ban list predictions, I'm not as accurate with that. But yeah, so that's it for this video. Let me know what you guys thought. Also, let me know what you guys think is going to happen once like actual tournaments get played in this post-ban OP10 meta, right? Of course, rank sim and then actual tournament performance can differ too. So let's revisit this again once the next wave of tournaments have happened, and we'll see if this tier list holds any weight after that. And yeah, as always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It would really help my channel out. If you want access to this tier list maker, it's available at my deck builder. Links in the description below. And yeah, until next time, bye.
Card D Kaizoku.